Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Bully Kid here. On today's video, we are installing MaXpeedingRods coilovers on our 2007 8th gen Honda Civic right here. We got it torn apart. We're doing a lot of things to this car currently. Turbo build is in the plans for the future. As you can see, we got some turbo components right here that we will be installing in the car, but today's focus is MaXpeedingRod coilovers. Now this is a sponsored video, guys. I'm going to give you my honest opinion on these coilovers. Install them. I've ran a couple of suspension setups on this car between springs and coilovers, so I have a good general idea of everything. We did already set the preload of the coilovers. If you guys want to know how to set the preload of the coilovers, go back to a previous video. We're going to toss these things on, adjust the ride height, and go for a ride. So the current setup on the vehicle is Megan Racing lowering springs with true hard sport shocks, and the setup is pretty good. The ride height, in my opinion, is perfect. I'll show you a picture of the ride height with this setup.
So what you doing tonight? It's everything I can't think of.
But it is soft, and these springs are progressive, meaning they're soft in the beginning and then they get harder as you go in a corner harder. That's the problem. They're unpredictable in a way for more aggressive driving, so these coilovers are going to be much better because they have linear spring rates. The spring rate doesn't change. We'll swap them out. It's pretty easy install. 2 bolts here on the shock knuckle assembly, 3 bolts on top if you come check that out. We're going to undo 3 bolts right here, drop out the front strut shock combo. The front is real easy. We'll get this done real quick. I'll weigh the MaXpeedingRod coilovers versus the stock or aftermarket suspension so you guys can gauge how much they weigh. I know somebody commented on that already. The rear is a little bit more difficult. We'll explain that a little bit more in depth, okay?
That was quick.
That was quick and easy, just the way we like it. 11 pounds for the MaXpeedingRod front suspension. The stock shock should be very similar to this height, 13.4. So we're actually saving 3.4 pounds in the front, 6 pounds. Not bad, not bad. All right, guys, so we're adjusting the camber plates right here. As you can see, the way they move here, we can have more negative camber and positive camber here. You definitely want to keep these nuts together on the 8th gen Civic so they fit the mounting surface on the top of the vehicle. But we're gonna do negative 1 degree of camber. We're gonna set it right here and tighten it. Currently I am running camber bolts in the vehicle for the bottom of the shock, but we're gonna keep those stock and we're just gonna adjust the camber here, test out how this works. So right there is perfect. We just got it set to -1, tighten it down. First time actually having coilovers with camber adjustment plates, so I'm curious to see how that's gonna work out. And these right here do have dampening adjustment 24-way. To start off with, I'm gonna dampen them to this 10 setting. So we turn them all the way to the left, and now we're gonna count 10 clicks to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's gonna be my baseline. I'm gonna start from there. The smaller the number is, the rebound is a little softer, and the tighter the rebound is, that means the shocks are going to settle faster. But they are stiff springs compared to the Megan Racing springs, so I still daily this car. I do want it somewhat comfortable. All right, so to adjust the ride height, I'm just measuring the height of the stock ones, and because the stock ones are these Megan Racing ones are softer, I actually want to make these a little tighter. So we're measuring here from the base. We got about 19 inches. We double checked it with this one, about 19 inches. That's gonna be our starting base right here. Once they're on the vehicle, we adjust everything we'll adjust and fine tune it. Yeah, so much lighter, 3.4 pounds lighter. So again, guys, you're gonna have to pop the top hats into the appropriate location. Obviously, we got more camber going in this way, so we're gonna install it this way towards the car. All right, the first problem I'm encountering here, usually this has a thread in here, but there's no thread on the shock design. So the bolt that normally would fit onto the shock right there, there's no way it's gonna hold into place. So that's one flaw I'm noticing already, but I mean, it's not a huge deal. We'll zip tie it. We'll zip tie it right into place right here and go from there. All right, guys, one thing I noticed is the bottom bolts are just straight circle, or the bottom mounting area, whereas this one, you see some space. You see that space? And it's like almost like a camber adjustment. So that's kind of misleading. I'm not sure if we should tighten the bolt pushed in all the way to increase camber this way, or push out and mount it this way. I mean, that little difference right there is gonna affect your camber. So we're gonna push it in to get max camber and go from there. I wish this had a little bit more explanation, and I'm not sure why the design is like that. It should be just a straight circle, in my opinion. That's how. Look at this shock right here. It's just a straight circle, fits right in. But anyway,
15 to 17 on the other side on the ground.
here's a 17. So we got this installed, guys. Everything fits pretty good. We greased up this area right here. I've heard a lot of complaints online of people's top hats making noise during turns. So we just greased it up, whatever we can stuff in there. I know it's not the most appealing, but we don't want any suspension noises. That's why we're trying to change. That's why we're trying to change this setup, because we had some noises on the top end installing these MaXpeedingRod coilovers. That's a wrap. One side down, onto the next side. Boys are doing a good job just chilling, not barking for the videos, so thank you.
Push it.
I mean, they look nice though. All right, boys, we're in the rear suspension right now. Again, this is a divorced suspension where the shock is independent of the spring. We'll explain how to set up the coilovers for that. But to remove this, you're gonna take off the shock bolt here. You're gonna take off the lower control arm bolt here. You may have to take out the lower tie rod or the lower sway bar end link bolt over there in order to push this down to pull the spring out. And inside the vehicle, you're gonna have to remove some of this carpeting, and you're gonna have to take off this bolt right over here. Not too bad, but it is a little bit more challenging than the front end, and let's just do it. All right, the stock suspension or shock and spring combo I had on here, 7.6 pounds, and the new setup here, it actually weighs more. So we got more weight. I mean, the shocks are way bigger, if you could look at that. Way thicker in diameter. One thing that I'm really happy that came with these MaXpeedingRod coils are the bushings. As you can see, look at how torn up these are right there. So good thing that they're including these for the top and bottom of these springs, because these seen better days. So we took these out pretty quickly. The install should be quickly. It's actually moving pretty smooth. All right, we got the rubber bushing on the bottom. We compress the coilover here as tight as it can go. That way it's easier to just install it right here. Let's see, goes right in. And at this point you can raise the vehicle up from here, so quite easy. I think the hardest part is when you have actual OEM springs, because they're taller, and then it's just kind of a pain in the ass to adjust. But this is going in smoothly, nice and smooth, no issues. And what the what are those?
I don't know these controls.
That's not how it's supposed to work. All right, so we're gonna jack up the bottom of the knuckle assembly to put some preload on the spring here, so it's nice and flat here. And you're gonna have to gauge this. This is not gonna be perfect. But right now the spring is compressing, so that's our zero preload essentially here. Everything is nice and tight. And at that point, we're gonna put our shock in, right? We're gonna put our shock in and make sure it bolts onto this hole right here for the lower shock. I'm gonna put that in right now. All right, at this point, guys, we got the shock installed. We're adjusting it lower so it can fit perfectly. That's zero preload. Just keep going, I see it. Down, 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 down. A little bit more. Right there. All right. Looks pretty good. We'll lock everything into place. Hopefully that height is dialed in. We're gonna have to play around with the height for a while. I'm really picky fine-tuning the height, so we'll see how it goes. But everything went pretty smooth. Once we tighten those perchers down, we'll tighten the shock and the control arm here, and then we should be good to go. I'm gonna keep the setting also around 10 clicks for dampening and just use that as a baseline. Way better.
How's she feel?
Way better, man.
Stiffer?
Ready for the track.
Cool.
I mean, the height adjustment, it was preliminary. So it's pretty much higher than it was with these Megan Racing springs.
Way
but
higher.
We'll drive it for a day, let it settle a little bit, and then adjust the ride height again a few times. I do want it a little bit lower, front and rear, and then we'll be back with the final precise adjustment. All right, we're in the car. It's a rainy day. I'm gonna give you guys a little drive here in the city. Try to listen to everything here and see if you can hear what I'm gonna tell you on later on. Right now, guys, they're doing road construction just about everywhere all around me, which is terrible when you're lowered and you have to deal. See, I just rubbed right there. It's just terrible trying to find a nice road. That's why I don't want to get super slammed. I've been slammed before, static. Don't want to be there again. I just want a reliable lowered car with a nice little lowered stance. That's good enough for me right now. Pulls good on this tune. The handling, I'll show you guys in a little bit. I'm gonna have a lot of things flying around here, but Alright fellas, well there it is. This is the MaXpeedingRod coilovers installed. I pretty much dialed in the suspension the way I like it to be dialed in. It's a nice gloomy day here. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm trying to show you guys. The wheel gap is just how I like it to be. From the front, nice and low, but not too crazy low, and I like it a little bit higher in the rear end. That's just how I like my stand setups. A little bit higher here, and you know, same setup on the other side. I did adjust it for a few days here just to dial everything in properly the way I want to dial it in. It takes a little bit of finessing it, adjusting multiple times back and forth so you can get the ride height exactly the way you want it, measure on a nice smooth surface. But there she is, and I've been driving on these coilovers for about probably a week and a half right now. So I can tell you guys a little bit about the coilovers. I'm going to tell you guys what I really like about them, and then I'm going to tell you guys what I've noticed about them that might be a drawback. The first thing I noticed coming from, let's say, all these suspension setups that I've ran, right? Linear springs are the way to go if you're a performance enthusiast, right? All your IBACs, H&R springs, Tains, they're all progressive springs, and you just don't have the control over the vehicle like you would have over a linear spring. It's just much more predictable. I think I want linear springs on every performance car or car that I'm gonna stance or drive more aggressively compared to your progressive springs. I love it. It just corners way better, guys. It feels way better. If you're transitioning between fast left turn to fast right turn, it just handles the road much better. Again, I'll have the spring rates listed down below. They're pretty much stiffer than factory or Megan Racing. I believe the Megan Racing springs were somewhere around 220 pounds per square inch in the front, and these right here I believe are around 390 in the front. It's not crazy stiff. You know, you can definitely feel it being stiffer on bumps, but if it's a smooth road, it's nothing uncomfortable. I've ran Raceland coilovers, Ultimos, guys, and those were just terrible on me. They were bouncy. I had a lot of issues with those making noises in the back. Overall here, I'm pretty happy. The install went pretty smooth. I've been pretty happy with the adjustability that they offer. Again, I've been running it on 10 dampening adjustment, the 10 setting. Pretty good. I'm not noticing any bumpiness, you know, bouncing all over the road. It just dampens and does what it needs to do. I still have to probably get an alignment on this vehicle one day. They offer a lot of adjustments here, again, from the camber plate, and remember that bottom shock bolt that is also adjustable. So if you don't get it consistent between both sides, you will probably get out of spec. Now overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I love the adjustability of coilovers. Definitely way better than the Racelands I have ran. And as far as spring stiffness, probably the most aggressive spring I've ran also. Now the only thing I have noticed that, I don't know if it's a bad thing, but it's just something I noticed, is when going over bumps, right? And I'm talking about those little cracks in the road and everything, you can actually hear like the shock gases doing their job right around here. I don't hear the back ones that much, probably because they're way further away from me. But these two shocks right here, when you're driving and it's releasing those gases, you can definitely hear that noises. And I don't know if I just never heard that or noticed that too much on the previous shocks and setups that I've ran, but I definitely notice it on this one. And I'm not sure if I'm annoyed by it or if I like it, but it's definitely there and it's definitely noticeable. Alright guys, well that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked the installation. If you have any experience with MaXpeedingRods, let me know below. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with them so far. I'll do an update video probably in about 1,000 miles or midsummer and let you guys know how everything is holding up. This is the Turbo Civic R18 build that we are going to be doing, so if you're interested in that content as well, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. More videos coming. It's building the turbo kit, installing everything, tuning it. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.
I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame, though it might be nice to
all for you. Come along and see it's true.